Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about what does an avoidant man need? Silence. Just kidding, but not really, because honestly, one of the big things that avoidants need is this sense of peace. We're going to talk about what an avoidant needs today because it can be so confusing to understand them, because in some ways they can be so loving and so caring, but in other ways they just struggle to give you what you need, and that just triggers you, especially if you have more of an avoidant attachment style. So if you're considering dating an avoidant, it's really good to educate yourself on this stuff, because it really does make love easier to understand when you kind of have this blueprint. And really, when I talk about attachment theory, it's just to give you an understanding of mental health in a simpler way. It's kind of breaking things down for you so you can see things more clearly, whereas love was always so very confusing before. And I can see that, when I launched the channel, no one was talking about attachment theory, especially in regards to breakups. And so I was incorporating this stuff right away because I had figured it out and started putting these pieces together with Margaret in a way that was just so mind-blowing to put together these pieces and just see, okay, look at this. If we look at this and we look at that, and then we start to dissect things and break things down, it really gives a lot of aha moments where you're just sitting there thinking, if I had only known this, if I had only known about attachment theory, if I had only known about what is attractive or unattractive, what they need, what I need, what relationships need, we would still be together. I know what that feeling is like. I know what it feels like. It's just so frustrating where you wish you could go back in time and change things so you could be better prepared for that person. And that's exactly why I tell you guys to work on yourself in no contact. That's why I'm always saying, do the workbooks 30 minutes a day. Do the creative healing course 30 minutes a day. The stuff that's in there, especially the course, is going to really enlighten you. You're going to see these cartoons with all these funny little dynamics and art therapy activities that's going to help you process things. And there's audio affirmations to keep you more centered. All of it is to keep you in a place where you are more secure and confident than you've ever been, because you're going to need it if you're going to be with an avoidant and try and give them what they need, okay? Because one of the big things avoidants want is space. Now, that is the opposite of what we want in a connection, right? Anxious people always want to feel connection. They don't want space. It's the last thing they want. But avoidants need a lot of it. They need to shut down. They need to power down. I gave an example recently about like a droid, like in Star Wars, they have to power down. That's kind of like what they have to do. It's just like they kind of power down and don't really process things. They kind of slow down their thinking. They're kind of isolated within themselves. And it's because that makes them feel safe again. It kind of makes them regroup and feel safe again, because it's hard for them to trust other people. So a lot of times just giving them some time apart from you really makes them feel better. They're not feeling so overwhelmed by the connection. Sometimes breaks in between talking with them can help too. Now, sometimes it's tough if you don't have that label on the relationship, or maybe they're a little bit more suspicious with their activities. It triggers you. Or maybe you were just traumatized and somebody cheated on you, so you're triggered all the time. But if you're able to show confidence in that space, as long as they're being reasonable, right, and time, it allows them to focus on themselves and allows them to be more prepared to spend time with you. Now, it can be physical space. That is important. Sometimes they just want to go fishing. They just want to go out with their buddies on the boat and just fish. And even though you feel like, well, they're not by themselves, they're not alone. Well, kind of when you're out there on the lake and you're just fishing, you're not doing too much of talking, about like life-altering important things out there. You're just kind of enjoying the peace and activity of it all. And so that is what a lot of avoidants will do in their physical space is find something, maybe they're watching football or a sport that they enjoy, and they can just kind of relax and not feel like they have to take care of somebody or take care of a connection. Now, another big thing that they need is structure. But the frustrating thing is that in the beginning of the relationship, the avoidant will want to spend all kinds of time with you, and it will feel so good and wonderful and amazing, and you'll think that it's going to last forever, but it doesn't. And, several months into the relationship, you're going to start to see some changes in their behavior where they're not wanting as much time and closeness as they did before, and all of a sudden, you're feeling like they don't care. Because where is this guy that was coming on strong before? What happened to him? I want him back. They don't stay like that, okay? So you have to understand that they're going to want kind of a different structure to the relationship where it's not going to be what it was in the beginning. And this is why it's also hard to identify avoidance in the beginning, because they usually don't act avoidant. Okay? This is why I say educate yourself on attachment theory and the stuff that we teach on the channel. It will truly help you see this stuff so much clearer. Okay? Another one, reliability. Avoidants are very sensitive to unreliability and being let down because they have been let down many, many, many times, especially by their caregivers. They maybe were neglected for a sibling. I had a client today that was telling me their twin was getting all the attention. Meanwhile, they were the ones that were neglected. So they wound up becoming avoidant because of that. I mean, that wouldn't feel good, seeing your twin getting all this love and attention and affection and you're neglected. Not a good place, right? Not a good feeling. And so if you're unreliable, it brings up the trauma of what happened in their childhood, and it kind of confirms their negative beliefs that they can't count on you. They can't count on anyone. Okay, another thing that an avoidant is going to need if you're going to be with one is patience. Because they're going to constantly want that space, and you're going to want to fill it. It's going to trigger you. It's going to make you feel anxious. It's going to make you want to lash out and connect with them. And so you got to understand that they're going to need a lot of patience if you're going to be with somebody that's like this. And another struggle that can happen with that is when they're triggering your anxiety, you're going to lose emotional self-control a lot, and then they don't feel safe to express themselves, because relationships need a lot of safety. And so you're going to have to manage a lot of your own anxiety if you're going to be with somebody like this. They also need trust and supporting their independence. You have to want that for them. It can be a real struggle because you don't want it for them, but in a sense, you really do need to want it for them, because you want them to be happy. You want them to feel good in the relationship. So you want them to feel that they can have that space, and you're going to support it, that it makes you happy to see them happy. If you start to get anxious and controlling, they're going to hate that. Remember, they don't really trust people. They trust themselves. And if they don't feel like you're going to allow them to have their space, their time, to do their own thing, their own hobbies, their own interests, they're going to run. They don't like pressure. They don't like obligations, and they don't like people when they push their boundaries, because anxious people always want to push their boundaries because they're just wanting to connect. It's totally understandable, but they can only handle so much of those things. So it's challenging if you're going to date somebody who's like this, but they would probably say the same thing about dating someone who's anxious. So always remember that. A lot of people are very negative about the avoidant, but they don't look at how their own anxious behaviors are just as off-putting to somebody else. So you always want to consider that. And remember, everybody you date is going to come with their own issues. Nobody's going to be perfect. It's about finding somebody that is a good fit for you and that you and them can make it work together. But that also means you have to be understanding and patient with somebody that may not be meeting all of your needs and understanding that you might be pressuring them and forcing them to do things that feel uncomfortable for them to make it work for you. It's a balance, and you have to figure that out for yourself. A lot to think about. Hopefully this one's been helpful for you. If you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. You can get my creative healing course and my workbooks only on my website. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.